A couple of months ago, our friends at WeGoPay gave us a platform which you used to support this podcast Living Truthfully. And we thank you for those of you that have gone through this journey with us. Now, we're going to give you something back. Imagine the possibility of buying airtime and getting some of that cash back. That possibility is now true with WeGoPay Airtime, an exciting new product for all your airtime purchases. WeGoPay is giving you a platform to buy your airtime and get 2% cashback on every airtime purchase. What's better, you can also earn more when you refer people using your unique invite code. You'll earn 2% for every purchase made from your referrals. And that cash is available immediately on M-Pesa, and you can use it to buy airtime or to pay other bills. Use *483*30# to start earning passive income. You purchase your airtime using the pay bill 787055 and use the account number as your phone number. Now I'll do you a solid. Use my code LT001 to start you off. Go ahead, purchase some airtime and get some passive income. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is, wherever you are in 2020. Welcome to episode 48 of the podcast Living Truthfully. And I am so glad that you're still here. I am happy that you're still listening to this podcast, and I have such positive vibes to send to you in this year 2020. Hey, lakini mmeanzaje? How's the year started for you? Are you happy? Are you excited? Are you optimistic? Do you have energy for this year? Or are you starting the year with some doubt, fear? Wherever you are, whatever it is that you're going through, we are going to go through that journey together. Because one of the things that I'm learning now is that it's also about the community that you're in and the people that you surround yourself with. And, you know, when you're having good times and when you're having a lot of energy, then those people propel you and they help you achieve everything that, you know, you set out to achieve. But even when you're having down times, then those people sort of hold you up. And so I really pray that one of the things that you do for yourself in 2020 is build the right community around you. And speaking of community, I brought my community to studio today. Yes, you know him because he is not a stranger to this podcast. Last year, we did a couple of podcasts together. We discussed, we went and met your dad in Nyeri, and we had a conversation about why you got married. And ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Tosh. Karibu studio.
Asante Amani, great to be here.
Karibu Living Truthfully.
Yes, it's good to be back.
It's good to be back, eh?
Although I never came here.
Actually, you've never been to studio?
No, I've just been to...
This is so strange.
You interviewed me in my car in a parking lot on the phone.
Oh my goodness.
Then we drove to Nyeri. But this is the first time.
That is so strange. I hadn't realized. I spent so much time with Tosh, so sometimes I don't even... Like, this has never occurred to me that you've never been in studio and I'm recording.
No.
Karibu.
Asante.
Welcome to this little space of ours, and you know, this is where the magic happens.
It's great to be here.
I'm seeing super producer pale kwa kona.
Namuona.
Anafanya kazi yake, ndio huyo pale ana make sure we are sounding good.
Kabisa.
Big shout out to Bwana Lee Kanyotu.
How are you, Lee?
I'm very well, man.
Ako salama kabisa. Is showing his coffee. Let me tell you, this is the year for Big City Studios, by the way, Lee.
Hallelujah.
This is the year for Big City Studios.
Amen.
And so this work you've been doing for this podcast is about to become like, you know,
next big thing.
Times 100.
Kabisa.
Tosh.
Yes, sir.
First, I have to thank you for your friendship.
Thank you very much.
He bowed down. If you guys wondering what that response was, he was bowing down. Thank you so much. I was just thinking about the friendship that we've forged in the last couple of years, and I'm like, it's such an amazing thing, you know, that iron sharpening iron, and me learning from you, and now doing business together. I really am grateful for the friendship that we've formed, and for allowing me into your life.
Asante, and I must say the feeling is mutual.
The feeling is mutual.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know the meaning of bromance, this is what it looks like. I brought you in today because one of the things I've said this in the podcast before, one of the things I admire is your mind. If you haven't interacted with Tosh on the podcast, please go back to the episodes, look for them. Anthony Mwaniki is his name, and we've spoken now, especially the one we did with his dad, and I've spoken about how I admire your mind, the amount of reading that you do. In fact, sometimes I know stuff because I talk to you, and then I reproduce it like I read the book because you read it. You read it for us. And at the beginning of a year like this, I find that people with your kind of knowledge and wisdom are probably the community that I need around me. And I want to ask you, maybe to start with, do you have any New Year routines that you've had over the last, however long, or have you evolved any New Year routines that you have?
I think the one going back to that I had ignored, and I did a little bit of it. There's about 2 weekends ago, is to take some time away, go to a quiet place, and just look back at the year and try to think through, say, okay, what went well, what didn't go too well, what can I improve, and what should my year going forward look like. I would want to do it. I do it for myself. We actually used to do it we used to do one with my wife, which I would like to start as this beginning. We'll see whether we can do it still. The year is still early yet, and as you said, it's decade thinking. So the decade is at the beginning.
Yes.
But I found that those things help because I think in the day-to-day routine of doing this, coming here, going there, making this, you find that you're not able to really process and think through. So I went for one. I think the only downside, it was too short. So
yeah, I remember you went somewhere near Nazarene University or something like that.
The place was, man, is when you realize there's a lens you need to have. Let me tell you this, it's a lady, she owns a place. It's right next to the national park, separated by the Bagathi River. Yes. So you go behind this Kitagala
I didn't even know there was a Bagathi River.
It's called Bagathi River. But she told me she was once in the national park, got lost in a game drive, saw this land, saw some other homesteads around it, and said, you mean people can build there? I would like to. And she went out, built something, and it's a beautiful place, quiet. It's just a nice place to you wake up and start seeing giraffes and antelopes and all sorts of things just across your garden, Wow. It's amazing. So I said, if you have the right lens, if you have the right way of maybe seeing things, there's always gems here and there, opportunities. I think for me that's been a lesson as the year has closed and the year has opened, that irrespective of what it feels like, there's always something. There's always something. I think I'm not sure where he got it from. I don't know if he's the originator, Martin Luther King. And I think your podcast had talked about Martin Luther King and I Have a Dream. But he had a statement he made once. And he said, only when it's dark enough can you see the stars. So sometimes it's when times are tough, when you're feeling, hey, it's when your eyes are opened and you see, wow. So there it is. There is the star. So I think whatever our circumstances are, I think if we have the right mindset, mindset, there's always something out there for us.
You remind me of, I think it said that the Japanese characters, the way they write.
Yes.
So the characters for crisis, that spell out the word crisis, are the very same characters that spell out the word opportunity.
Yeah, I've had something like that.
And for me, that's such a profound way of, maybe picking up from that conversation of looking at life, because it's about perspective.
Yeah.
To one person, it's a crisis.
Yes.
And to another person, it's an opportunity.
True.
And so it's about that lens. What are the lenses that you're using to look at something? Now, I was going to ask you, what was the outcome of your retreat? Because you speak about this perspective thing, but what else came out of your retreat?
It has been in my mind that 2020 means the best eyesight. If someone says your vision is 2020, it means you can see clearly.
Yes, we've spoken about that here as well.
So I thought one of the things I said is I just want to put in the effort to get clarity. Just clarity about what, for me, I feel I call it my second half of life. I'm on people say I'm a fifth floor occupant. So we've done first half. Now we are in second half. And so I guess like every team, you go into the the changing room, coach tells you what has been going well and what you need to do to win the game. And so for me, that's part of it. I think I came from there saying, I haven't sort of crystallize the plan, but I want clarity. I think number two, I felt I need to do this regularly. I need to take time out of the hustle and bustle of life to take stock and say, since I've got a plan, how am I doing with this plan? But I think sometimes just to unplug is good. Yeah.
They say boredom, by the way, is a bedrock of creativity.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I want to do. But I think the other one that I came away with is simplify and live and operate on the essentials. During that time, I cleared a book that I had started reading. As you said, I read a lot. It was called Essentialism. And I think the thing that that sort of really challenged my thinking is that it says, we need to simplify life, go back to the essentials. What are the priorities? What are the key things that you need to be focusing on in every aspect of life? But also simplify life. I think I looked at myself and, you're always under pressure to buy the new, the latest gadget, the new this, go to in fact, people say even when you go to a shop, they're always trying to get you to buy new clothes, new this, new that.
Yeah.
But sometimes even me, I looked, I said, there's stuff in my wardrobe that I bought, I've never worn. So I've got to go back and say, just focus on the essentials.
Yeah, what do I really need?
Yeah, what is important, and just focus on those things. And I think what I sort of got is once you get rid of all these other things that just screaming for attention and focus on the essentials, life gets simpler, it gets happier, it gets less
stressful.
I think so.
That's interesting. I don't know if I'm yet at essentialism. I do want some few luxuries. There's some two luxuries that are essential for me. I don't have them. I just want them.
I think one of the things that I learned is because I also watched something on the essentialism. They said, everyone has a whatever it is. Like for me, it's books. So I have a lot of books. I read something, a good book, I go and look for it. So I have even a long reading list that I'm still to go through. So he says, there are some things you just agree, this is part of you, and you can binge a little bit
on this one.
Yeah, but there are so many other things that I think we do because somehow society has created that this is an expectation, but they're not really necessary.
That's definitely an idea that I buy.
Yeah.
It brings me to this decade thinking.
Yes.
And it's been interesting for me, Edward, who's a couple of podcasts ago brought this decade thinking to my attention.
Hey, that guy is another level.
I have not met a man who has challenged Tosh. Edward Wanyonyi, you are now in the lists of greats because you've challenged Tosh's thinking. But this decade thinking, it was an interesting concept for me, because it's allowed me to do two things. One, reflect on the last decade. and then in a sense also project into the next one. And I think one of the things I want to ask you is just what was the last decade like for you?
I think, well, you're looking what, 2010 to 2019, I think?
Yeah, thereabouts.
I mean, one of my highlights were I was involved in a number of businesses which at the beginning of that period they were both growing phenomenally well. Two in real estate, the other was in technology. And one of them, one of the real estate, both of the real estate businesses had valuations in the hundreds of millions, so to speak. They were growing, and to be part of that, the team involved in them at board level. One of them, I was a founder. It was really great to see us starting up new projects, new investments. Was fantastic. 2010, I also joined the staff team of Mavuno Church. I was in charge of operations and was part of the leadership team that oversaw the purchase of a new property for Mavuno and setting up the church in that new property. But it was phenomenal. We were able to do what many people told us they had never seen a church locally or even abroad do what we did, buy land, move, raise money, all almost simultaneously. Being in
3 years.
3 years. It was, I was just looking at it saying from the voluntary contributions from the church over and above what it takes to run the church, we were able to raise close to 300 million.
Wow.
We were able to secure some funding from a commercial bank. It's phenomenal. And when you look at it, there's a fantastic property sanctuary. I went there once and it's like, it's the one sort of green place in the middle of all this, of all the concrete jungle that's coming around it.
And for me, that particular project is such a testament of visionary thinking. And when I say visionary thinking, because you were in charge of finding the property and a suitable property. And I guess you had to pitch why this is the suitable property.
Yeah.
And when you found it, it was in the middle of nowhere.
It looked like a desert.
It was a desert. It was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But, you had I'd say lens, like you used about that lady, whose place you went for a retreat. You had the lens to be able to see of what it could become, despite of what it looked like at the time. And convince not just a leadership team, but 1,000 and something people. It was actually almost 2,000 people to rally behind a desert. But yes, I think in many ways that vision now comes clearly because you have an oasis in that desert, and that desert turned out to be a concrete jungle later.
Yeah, and that's where people go to jog. That's where people go and play soccer. It's a community.
It's a community place, yes.
And now everybody uses it as if you're giving directions, you talk about Mavuno Church. People who are selling property say next to Mavuno Church.
Wow. In that area.
In that area, it's become the landmark.
Wow.
And I'm really grateful to have been part of that
process. Congratulations.
And with all the other people, it wasn't, as you said once, these things are not a one-man show. It's always a team. And to see just what has become of the place, both in terms of, in every way, social value, monetary value, spiritual value, all those things. It's great to see. So those, I think when I look, I would say, of course, we, on a family front, we walked into the decade as a family of three, my wife, myself, and our daughter, Kenya. But we then got a son, Howie, added to us. So that
fantastic
was, of course,
young man.
Yes.
I like that guy so much.
Yeah. So there definitely were some big things, big highlights. Yes.
Before we go to the downsides, maybe the question, and I haven't asked this to anyone, and what did the highlights of the last decade teach you about you? The businesses that you were involved in,
Yes.
the 2 real estate businesses and the tech business, also saw some success in that time, in that decade. What does that tell you? Again, just reflecting in your contribution to those businesses, as a founder, as a director, what does it tell you about you? What do you see from that success?
I think one is that, in fact, it's actually come now when you've spoken about it, that yes, there is an ability to spot opportunities. I think sometimes I've not seen myself like that. That it made me understand that I have the capacity to lead. I have the ability to, and that you can actually take something from from where it almost was just an idea or a vision, and leave it as something solid. Ability to, I think, as I said, the ability to build, and I want to say build not as an individual, but with others. I think, as you've talked about the power of community, that when you come together as a community with a like mind, and both of you play, all of you, and not both, sorry, the team plays to each individual to their success, to their strength, then you're able to build something phenomenal. You're able to achieve things that you yourself would never have thought you would be able to achieve. I mean, it's when I look at both the company, what happened at Mavuno, if you had told me maybe at the beginning, 5 years later, that this is what it would be, I would not have been able to. I would probably have thought somebody's out of their mind. Yeah.
What was it about you then? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. But what was it about you then? What do you think were the qualities that you had then that were able to drive that type of success?
Maybe that's one of my weaknesses, the ability to look at myself and say what it is that I think. But maybe part of it, I feel, which I think has been lost in the last year, was the ability to step out, to take some risk, to try something that hasn't been tried before, to innovate, but also to bring the different components of things that are needed to build something, to see, what do I need to put together for this thing to work. I think the other one I would say is perseverance. Just sometimes this thing is just all about staying, what do you say? Just staying true to the journey. Yeah.
I've been evaluating myself, and that's the reason I'm asking these questions, because it's when your recent times have been the hard times that they sort of become the lens in which you see life, or you see hindsight.
True.
But then, like you, I've enjoyed some success in the last decade, and some of it was you saw.
Yes, yeah.
And I've had to force myself to acknowledge, in a sense, that I was part of that success, and I was a driver. I was in the driver's seat of that success, and not just to acknowledge, but also evaluate what worked. And say that ability hasn't left you. It hasn't left me. The drive, your ability to take risk, your ability to put together the team and the people that you need to make something succeed. For you, again, as well, the ability to see something that might not be much, but see what it could be. All those things are you.
True. I think there's somebody, was it SK Blue you had here?
Yes.
I remember he made a statement, and maybe that's what we are both getting at. maybe I'll paraphrase it. Failure can take away your fruit, but it cannot take your fruitfulness or your ability to create fruit. I think sometimes when, as you said, when dark times come and the fruit rots, you believe that even your ability to create fruit is gone.
It's gone, yes.
Because the fruit has rotted.
Yes.
But I think, sometimes, as you said, the tree creates fruit, the fruit falls, it rots, but the tree is still able to create fruit
and it will create fruit in the next season and in the next season.
So I think it's to recognize there's an ability your ability for fruitfulness still remains. And the season will come when you will bear fruit again.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the takeouts for me that has been part of my reflection. So that I think that's an important thing for you or for us to sort of acknowledge.
True, and I think Amani, for me, that's the value of what you said, community, because I don't know about you. We tend to see what is missing. I think I remember sometime hearing someone speak or something I read again, where somebody says when a child comes with a report form and he has A, but one C. When parents were asked what would they concentrate on, everyone would concentrate on the C.
Yeah.
Nobody would ask, how did you get the A's and how can we build on the A's? Would go to the C. So I think I feel that the lens even I come to myself at is to say, here are the C's. So how do I sort the C's? And I am not able to think about the A's. And so it sometimes takes someone else to say, but you've got A's. Why don't you operate in the A? Because I'm spending so much of my energy trying to make the C into an A. But there are places where I'll just be a C. It doesn't matter what I do, I will be a C. And it's better to just leave it and accept happen. Mimi, I'm a C. But there are places where I'm an A.
That you have 8 A's and 1 C.
And say, what are your C? Let me just deal with my A's.
And the C might not even be a defining C.
Yeah.
Because it might not be the most important thing in your life.
Yeah.
And but because that's what you concentrate on, then it looks like it's the most important part. But you probably are doing very well in areas that count for more. Yeah. And so I really appreciate what I'm going through right now in my mind, of just being able to look back and say that I did do some things right. For me, one of the big things is the team that I built at 360 and what they've become today. Yeah. And it's one of my biggest joys. It's just that I did something right with that business. The other things that probably didn't do very well, but we built people, and we built people well.
I hear you.
But then there were some tough times in the decade, right?
Yes, there were.
What were yours?
Well, one of the real estate businesses. For a variety of reasons that would take a couple of podcasts to go through.
Okay, so we shall do the variety of reasons podcasts.
It actually ended up, it failed, the business failed. I mean, from the highs of multi-million valuations to where it's really a shell of what it used to be. So that was hard. It was hard to, because of course, as they say, when you're looking back, you can say, if I had done this, if we did this, why didn't we step in, But to have lost it was after 10 plus years of putting effort in it in various levels was hard. I think maybe the other big thing for me was the effort that I put into the work of getting the land, moving the church, all that. And it left me that in the middle of that decade, about the middle of that decade, I suffered a burnout. And it was tough. It was tough to be in that state. It was tough and it's been a journey trying to get back to where you feel, I'm the Tosh that I used to know. Yeah.
Allow me to just dig a bit into the burnout, because we've had the conversation, but it's also very similar to the depression that I went through in a sense,
Yes.
As a function of my marriage ending. And burnout. I mean, Tosh, we've said we'll have this conversation actually on the podcast because I feel like people don't understand what the effect is when you just drive and drive and drive and drive and drive yourself at the expense of yourself. Just what was the cost of that burnout for you? What was that experience like?
And now a word from our sponsors.
As a dad, the greatest gift I can give my family is security around their health. Do you know how the first time you have a child and all of a sudden there are medical expenses that come up that you never knew existed? Well, Minette has a great cover that caters for your young family. This cover is comprehensive and has features such as inpatient limits of up to 10 million shillings. It will take care of premature births, any complications during, after birth, or for both mom and child. For people who don't like the delivery room like me, this is such a sigh of relief because you know at least the finances are taken care of. It even takes care of you when you accompany your child of up to 10 years to the hospital as a caregiver. And that's just the inpatient cover. Outpatient caters for dental, optical, gynecological, urologists, and mental health services and is up to 2 to 3 times higher than other covers in the market. I highly recommend Minette Health, and it can be accessed online. They have made this purchasing process easier by creating a portal where any user can access their services directly from the website. To learn more about this cover, visit their Facebook page, Minette Kenya, or their website, collaborationkenya.minette.com. Buy your family a secure health future with Minette. Allow me to just dig a bit into the burnout, because we've had the conversation, but it's also very similar to the depression that I went through in a sense.
Yes.
Because I feel like people don't understand what the effect is when you just drive and drive and drive and drive and drive yourself at the expense of yourself. Just what was the cost of that burnout for you? What was that experience like?
The experience was quite I don't know whether I would say maybe harrowing. It was dark. You see certain things happen. For example,
how do you know you're in burnout? What changed for you?
For me, one is just I was unable to function in a sense. So I would say people say I was reading a book. I would read a sentence, but when I read the second sentence, I could not remember what the first sentence.
So there's no
reference. I could not really just tie in what I'm reading and make sense out of things. I would be sitting somewhere trying to do work, and I just couldn't get the work done. I did not want to interact with people. I just didn't have the capacity to engage with people. There are days I would wake up and I would feel sick. Now I'd go to see a doctor and I'll be told there's nothing wrong with you. Physically there's nothing wrong with you, but I would be sick. I would just feel sick. So I just call and cancel any appointments and I had, then just stay in bed, sometimes for the whole day. So there were a lot. I had some suicidal thoughts, because you're thinking, I can't get anything done. What value do I have? I'm no longer relevant. It was tough for my family because you're irritable. You have mood swings. You're not there to engage the way you used to. So it was a difficult time.
Paula, I don't know. That's tough. And by the time you get into a place where you even have suicidal thoughts, that's a tough time.
It was.
And especially now, with the amount of suicide that we see, you realize that it's not far-fetched for anyone.
Yeah, and I agree. Was it Edward Wanyonyi?
Yes.
Who said just the need for community and friends who listen to you without judging you. And I had a couple of those, and they helped me. They helped
which
me.
is how I was going to ask. How if you're able to pinpoint how you've been able to move yourself, from the dark space and where you think you are now as you evaluate yourself.
I think that the ability to move one was I think it's first finding something to live for, and I would say my family, especially my kids, were were important for that, because you feel I can't leave them. I can't. I can't take them through whatever it would happen if I was not there. Yeah. So that's one. Number two, as I said, were friends. Friends who are just I remember one time when I was really feeling just low, and I told them I really wanted to get out of town, and they dropped everything. There were two of them, dropped everything and said, let's go. And we spent a couple of days in Mwaniki, just hanging out, nothing much, no real agenda. And, to know that there are people who care enough to drop everything and go out on a limb, in a sense, for you, and just hear you out, don't judge you, don't whatever, was really great. And I value their friendship greatly. I'd say the other one is just faith. Faith that God will see you. Somehow He'll see you through this, one way or the other. And so, in my view, I would say those are the two. And then third, I think the other one was just, I didn't do enough of it. And that's why I think for me, I feel it's taken me, I think now that we're sort of getting into 2020 is when I'm feeling, I'm almost the person I used to be. But I think it's taken me a long time because I didn't rest as much as I should have. I didn't disengage as much as I should have. Because my research had said, when you've gone through a burnout, they actually say, first for at least a month, at a minimum of a month, just do nothing, just no work, no nothing. And for the next 6 months, even then, really don't take any on heavy loads. Try and do the minimal that you can. But sometimes life is not ideal. You don't
have the luxury.
Yeah, you have school fees to pay, so you must find a way of paying school fees and all those other things that associated responsibilities that come with fatherhood and marriage and all this other
and just living in a city.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Tosh. I know it's not an easy conversation to have, but for me, I found that there's value in being able to release, those moments.
Maybe for me, it's just, I guess, as you said, Amani, is just to tell people, take care of yourself. I was lucky. I have heard of people who they are pushed, the stress that comes from just driving gives them a burnout that, as you said, goes into even clinical depression that is hard to get out of, and you become incapacitated for a very long time, or people who get actually physically, either a stroke or something. And so I think for us, and especially as men pushing to try and get to whatever goals we've set or carry the responsibilities we have, look after yourself. Find some time for yourself to rest, to have fun, to play. Yeah, just...
My psychologist, my therapist used to say that you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't and your body is telling you rest, and you're not resting, one day it will say, kidney, help me, or liver, help me, or that stroke, your body demands attention, and it's a function of rest. And thank you for sharing that. Maybe the other follow-up question would be, rest seems to be one of the things that you learned from this experience. What else can you say? Did you pick out about yourself, just like we evaluated the successes? What are some of the things you've learned about yourself from the failures or the downsides of the last decade?
I think number one is that it's that one where I carry responsibility. How would I say it? I hold it very closely. Probably not as good as delegating, but once I make a commitment, I feel whatever it takes, it has to be done. And so it's easy. I feel that because of that, there is for me the danger that I can push through, not take the rest, not do the things, not look after myself. So I think one is just was a lesson that I need to, as you said, look after myself. I think the second thing was I felt that with the business, one of the things that we could have done better. We did a lot. We worked hard, but maybe we could have done a bit better was candor, just to be able to be candid about where we are, what we need to do, what's going on. I think there are times when you're going through, when in a tough situation, we don't say the tough things, or we don't have the hard talks, because I'm trying to
manage
but also manage relationships.
Yeah.
And in the process, what could have maybe saved the situation is not said. So I think it's important just to
speak your mind.
To speak here. Yeah. So those are things I've learned that it would be important to do.
At the turn of a decade, you have the opportunity to sort of pick these lessons from the last decade, and like we said in the meeting we had yesterday, realize that maybe some of it was not intentional. You are not being life happened to you and at you and now you have the opportunity to now be a bit more intentional in how you enter into the new decade. With that in mind, and with the opportunity of the retreat that you had, what are some of the things that you've seen that you could do differently in the decade or you're thinking about, like in the next 10 years, here are some things I could do differently?
I guess that's even the message of essentialism. What is it that I need to focus on? I think I must say that my one frustration is I haven't figured it out. But I must again just say, it's a journey. I think I must tell myself this thing is a journey.
Cut yourself some slack.
Yeah, it's not like I think you read books, you listen to people, and you think, is this thing like it just dropped? I'm a clever guy, how can I have not figured it out? I'm not a dumb. So I think that is one. So I really want to put whatever effort and time to figure out where should my energies be put. And I think, and I feel, and also then with that, begin to pick some of the big spaces and say, what do I do in each of this? I'm a father, I'm a husband, there's me as a person. How do I build myself personally to grow? How do I take care of my health? There's something like I've decided that this one, please hold me accountable. I want every single month, I want to take a hike. I know there are beautiful parts of this country I've not seen. So at least one weekend I get into my car, hope I can take some friends, and we just walk. See a new place, come back. I think it just it helps us disengage from the world that we are in, and helps us, clears your mind. So I want to do that. I have been saying I'll do it, so I want to do it. I think the other thing is I want to make a deliberate choice to change my conversations, and maybe that will have to arise from my thinking. And that means even, I guess, it means broadly even with the community that I'll have around me. I don't know if you notice that, I notice that many times when I'm sitting with friends, sometimes family, conversation starts somewhere, but it invariably falls into, I would almost think, a couple of categories. One is politics, and then the other is what is not being done and how the country is in some whatever.
Yeah.
I said, true, politics has its issues, the country has its issues, but I need to change what I'm talking about, because that's the only way I'll be able to figure out one, where are the opportunities, but two, what can I do about the problems that are there.
And you clean your lens.
Yeah. So having the conversations about what the issues are, and then we go, I just feel bad when I go to whatever. But if we can see what do you see as the opportunity? What's happening for you? What are the things that your lens is showing you that can be done? It's not necessary that I'll do them, but I think that conversation also spurs my mind in terms of how can I just also grow? How can I improve things? What solutions can I get from you? And so that's, for me, is critical. I think that maybe the other thing, I really feel that part of what my next season has to be will be empowering others, adding value to others. And maybe sometimes that's why I feel, I must say, there's a bit of a tension, because on this side, as I said, there are those responsibilities.
Yeah.
And then on this other side, there is these things that you're feeling are sort of calling you, but you're not able to see how doing these things will put food on the table, so to speak. So I'm asking, just show me how I can do these things, because I really think I have certain experiences, certain skill sets that can solve some of the problems I see around me. So I think that my next decade, I would like to see some of that. I intend to see some of myself doing some of that.
Bro, I want to call out the risk taker in you.
I used to take risks.
Yeah.
But can I ever tell you, Manny, how I once read a newspaper and I saw a place called Dol Dol. Do you know Dol Dol?
Yeah, somewhere in Ngong.
No, Dol Dol, you go past Mwaniki.
Mwaniki, yes.
Pass with water.
Yes. You turn left and you go down there.
So I saw Dol Dol. I don't know, tented camp. I called the number. I said, I want to come. They gave me, I booked my room to drive a Toyota Corolla. Now I didn't even know Dol is it a 4-wheel drive, whatever. I get Toyota Corolla. I reached Mwaniki. I asked somebody now from here, where do you so go like this, turn left, I think. I turned. And I couldn't find. I got lost. It's a Masai who said, he said, let him enter my car. He showed me, took me till Dol to the tented camp. Adventure.
You don't know where you're going.
I have no clue.
You don't even know if you have the right car for it.
I don't even know whether this camp exists.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yes. But I had a phenomenal time at Dodo. I was the only guy in that camp. I would be asked, what do you want for breakfast?
They treated you like a king.
See, now it's me. What do you want to eat tomorrow?
There's no menu. You choose.
Yeah, you tell us.
Yeah.
Na lunch unataka nini?
Wow.
So that used to be, but as you said, now I am... before I leave to go anywhere, I have to have a plan. What happens? Could it? And what if? So it's true. I need to.
The essence. I feel like the essence of manhood is living dangerously,
adventure,
without being a danger. Just living dangerously. And being able to take risk. That's why we allow our small boys to climb a tree and to climb the windows, and because that's you're teaching them the ability to handle some risk.
And maybe that's why I want this hike to start helping me do some of those things. Because I think for me, I guess I feel if we don't allow, as men, we don't give ourselves that space to do certain adventurous things, both I guess in the physical space, in business, what tends to happen is you feel the walls are closing in on you. I don't know if you ever have entered your car and you're driving somewhere and you feel, this road, this road, if I keep going, naweza kufika Tanzania.
Bro, you know
nikifika Tanzania, naweza, I could even be, could go till Cape Town.
Yeah, just keep going.
Just keep going.
Bro, that car, the one I had before,
yeah.
That's exactly what it represented for me. The ability to just go.
Yeah.
We used to call it point and go. This is the direction. You don't care whether there's a road, whether there's just go.
Yeah, but you see, part of now the one I'm saying is that because you feel here, you're tied.
Yeah.
You feel now, it's this car I'm driving it, I'm escaping.
It's a way of
but so if you've created avenues that I think for me where you have that sense of adventure, then when you come back, you're energized to give back to those who need your strength. But if I think you're always feeling sometimes I feel it's just this responsibility and that one and this one and that one. Then there are times you just feel mimi wacha niende kama nitarudi nitajua mbele, but I'm just going. I will know ahead whether I shall turn back
or not.
I shall keep going.
And whatever consequences there are for going, let them come. We'll just keep going. I like it. And I want to affirm maybe two of those things you've said. One about the sense of adventure and the risk. And as the reason I was telling you I want to call out the risk taker in you is because the following the path of the things you feel you need to do, like giving to others and empowering others, that you don't know whether that will pay for the bills, and the time spent could have been spent better elsewhere. You will never know until you try it.
Yeah. So
in a sense, it's take the risk. What do you really? What's the real loss? And there's a story that sort of encapsulates that and about the things you say as well. A story about this 12 people that was sent to spy, on a land that the Israelites were going to pick up, and they go and they see, this land, and the 12 of them see the same thing. And when they come back to report, and they're giving their CIA report of what they've seen, 10 of them, they say, that they felt small. They felt like grasshoppers or giants there. And those things were true about the land they'd gone to spy. So they didn't lie. But they gave a report that, spread fear and uncertainty. And someone made an interesting observation. Do you know the name of those 10 guys?
I only know one was called Palti. The others I have no clue.
Do you know, have you ever had anybody named after those guys?
Why should we name them after them?
Like, have you ever had anybody name their children Palti, or any of the other 10 spies? But we all know about Caleb and Joshua.
True.
And we know many people named Caleb and Joshua. And what those guys were, they were risk takers in a sense. And we see later, in the stories told about them later, we see them as warriors and going into fight. But at that moment, they were not just risk takers; they were bearers of a better report.
True.
And one that said those things that have been said are true. However, they don't paint the entire picture. There is another side to this story, because it is really still a land flowing with milk and honey. And I think, to affirm what you're saying, and again to direct how I close this conversation is, you really have the choice of the lens that you want to see life in, and the decade that is coming ahead. It's your choice, really, how you want to approach it in terms of your lens.
Yeah, Amani, I was sitting with a group of friends about 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about doing almost what we're doing here, looking back, looking ahead. And then I told them that I intend this 2020 to reinvent myself. Because in a sense, I've looked at my life and found that almost every decade I've done something
new.
So I started, I think, the 90s as an engineer, became a project manager, went into 2000, it was my sort of beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. Then 2010, I went into worked for the church. So now it's 2020 and I was saying I need to reinvent myself. But I thought, no, it's not to reinvent myself. I need to almost discover. I need to, is it whether rediscover or discover myself and now become that person. There's no need to invent anything. It's to say, this is who I am and this is how I'm going to play.
I have a word for you.
Yeah, so that's my...
Yeah, I have a word for you. Advance myself. You know, it's like push who I am forward.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's someone who once said, the older you become, the more like yourself you become. So we always say somebody, hey, you as people age, they change. No. It's almost they get the freedom to be who they are. Yeah. So the older you become, the more like yourself you begin to say, hey, accept. this is me. So watch it too. Let's just play with this. This is who I am. So I'm now saying it's time for Tosh. The Tosh days are here.
It's time for Tosh.
Yes.
and maybe that's such a good place to close this conversation and say it's time for you.
Yeah.
It's time for you to be the best version of yourself, taking into cognizance all the experiences that have brought you here to 2020. So whatever it is in the last decade, but even before, like you've said, that all those experiences count because they've built a certain person.
Yes.
And now it's time to bring that person to life and to let that person contribute everything that they could into their own lives, but into society. And I don't know about you who's listening to this, who's wondering, what does this decade bring for you? I think Tosha said it. It's time for you to bring out you and just present yourself into 2020 and into the 2020s. And I think in doing that and taking the risk of just presenting who you authentically really are, it might just change not just the course of your life, but the course of the people around you. I have complete faith that in the turn of this century, there's a lot of things that are going to be turning for you, for me, for this country, and for this continent. But we can't do the same things expecting different results. We can't let life first just happen and then allow whatever has come our way to dictate who we are. It's about time to take charge and be intentional about every single space of your life, your health and wellness, your finances, your career, your relationships, travel, your opportunity to be adventure. In fact, I dare say it's time to bring out the adventurous side of you, to live dangerously without being a danger to society. I really hope this for you. I really hope this for 2020. God bless you. See you next week.